We're joined now by Shadow Justice Minister, Labour MP Ellie Reeves. Good morning to you, Ellie.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to talk about an announcement Keir Starmer's making today under your remit, but I also want to talk first of all about what you made of Boris Johnson at the Privileges Committee yesterday. He didn't deny that he thought it was a kangaroo court. He still said, hand on heart, he did not deliberately or recklessly mislead Parliament. What did you make of his evidence, and what do you think the outcome will be?
Well, the committee is a highly respected committee, cross-party, and I think they should be able to get on and do their job without intimidation or fear. But
who's intimidating them?
Well, you know, we've heard sort of stories of pressure from Conservative MPs, and I hope that the committee can do their job properly, and they are highly respected, the MPs on that committee. But in terms of Boris Johnson's evidence yesterday, I don't think it will wash with the public. People made huge sacrifices during the pandemic, following the rules that Boris Johnson himself made. People didn't see loved ones as they were dying. Grandparents didn't see grandchildren. Women had to go into labour wards on their own.
All policies, by the way, the Labour Party supported and called for.
Yeah, and it's the rules that, you know, I stuck to, people up and down the country stuck to, because we were doing what we thought was the right thing to do. And when you see those pictures of Boris Johnson at social gatherings, frankly, it's insulting to everyone that did follow those rules.
But were the rules wrong, or was he wrong?
I think Boris Johnson was wrong. He's been fined.
You still think the rules were right that stopped people saying goodbye to loved ones, or being with their partners as they gave birth, or meeting their grandchildren, or children going to school?
I think people had to make huge sacrifices.
Well, it's not a sacrifice if it's the law. I mean, I don't. You know, it's not a choice. You make a sacrifice is when you choose to do something. We weren't given the choice, were we?
Well, we followed the rules. People followed the rules.
I followed the rules because I'd have lost my job otherwise.
Well, it was about keeping people safe. It was about protecting.
But you still think they were the right? You still think the rules were right?
We were right to support those rules. Yes, we had to keep people safe.
And those rules kept people safe.
Those rules did help to keep people safe during the pandemic, and it was right that we did have rules in place. And I think when people see those pictures of Boris Johnson, they will find it really insulting, because, you know, people did make those sacrifices, and it was about keeping people safe.
OK, let's also talk about inflation. Those inflation figures yesterday up to 10.4%. Surprised it was going up, not down. Interest rates, as a result, we're expecting will be raised by another 0.25% to 4.25% by the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee today. Big pressure on people and their finances. What would Labour be doing differently that would be helping people right now?
Well, we're in a cost of living crisis. People are already paying a mortgage penalty following the Kwasi Kwarteng budget back in the autumn. And we've got a government who aren't making the choices to help working families. In the budget just last week, we saw a tax cut for the wealthiest 1% and their pension pots, whilst working people face the highest tax burden for 70 years. Labour would make different choices. We would tax fairly, for example, by ending the non-dom status and putting that money into more training places for doctors, more midwives, more nurses. So it's about those political choices, and this government isn't on the side of working people. OK,
let's talk about what Keir Starmer's going to announce today. He's going a big speech in Stoke-on-Trent today, and he's going to be talking about how he wants to halve violence against women and girls. He's got four, he says, ambitious targets on fighting crime. What are they, and how is he going to do it?
Well, violence against women and girls has become epidemic in society, and there's
is it getting worse?
I think it's getting worse.
And you think it's getting worse, or is it getting worse?
Well, you know, we hear day after day of stories of violence against women and girls.
Crime statistics show crime's going down, isn't it?
Well, on domestic abuse, since 2015, the number of reports of domestic abuse has doubled, but charges for domestic abuse have halved. So these are real issues, and that's why Labour have set out a number of measures to tackle violence against women and girls. For example, tougher minimum sentences of 7 years for rapists, setting up a domestic abuse register, putting domestic abuse call handlers in every police control room, and having specialist rape and serious sexual abuse units in every police force across the country, as well as specialist rape courts to fast track these cases through the system. Because at the moment, people are waiting 3 years for their cases to get to court, which means that during that time, rapists are walking free. We would punish criminals and protect communities, and that's lacking from this government after 13 years of the Conservatives.
I always get told off by your press office when I ask this, but I always find it quite strange. We're all concerned about violence against anybody, particularly women and girls. But it's very difficult to take Labour seriously on this issue when you don't even protect one of your own MPs, Rosie Duffield, when she stands up for who women and girls actually are. And you've got a leader who doesn't seem to know what constitutes a woman, whether a trans woman is a woman or not. Can we trust that Labour would protect women when Labour still endorses a policy which basically brought down Nicola Sturgeon, which would, to all intents and purposes, allow a rapist to go in a prison cell with women?
Well, to start with, we didn't support the Labour was
Labour
very
in
clear.
Scotland
Keir was very clear that the bill that was brought forward in Scotland was an SNP bill, and it wasn't
supported by Labour
the Labour
members.
Party in Westminster. And we've also been very clear that the Isle of Bryson should not have been in a female.
Why not? If Keir Starmer believes that a trans woman is a woman, then that woman should be in a woman's jail. So either he, you can't believe a trans woman is a woman and also believe that Isle of Bryson, a convicted rapist who claims to be a woman, a trans woman, it shouldn't be in that jail.
Well, we were really clear that that Isle of Bryson shouldn't have been in a women's prison.
Why not?
And actually, I think we need to take the heat out of some of this debate. We've said time and again she shouldn't have been in a women's prison. She now isn't in a women's prison.
Ellie, you cannot come on my show and talk about how Labour want to tackle violence against women and then refer to a double rapist, a man who used his penis to rape 2 women, convicted, sentenced to jail, and then refer to him as she.
Well, we've set out a comprehensive plan for tackling violence against women and girls. Under the Conservatives, rape prosecutions are at 1.6%. That means that for every 100 reported rapes, only one person, just over one person, is being charged for this. This is a government that is letting down women and girls every single day. Women are scared to walk the streets. They have lost confidence that they are being kept safe after 13 years of a Labour government. And we are after the Conservative government, Labour are the only party that have a plan to tackle violence against women and girls and to end
Final question, completely different topic. Rishi Sunak chose a good day to bury bad news, released his tax return yesterday. Well, some details of it, not the full document that he put into HMRC. It showed he's made some sort of 4 or 5 million quid, paid £1 million in tax, a lot of his money coming on capital gains from a blind trust in America. Is there anything to see here? Does any of this matter?
Well, Rishi Sunak earned this £5 million across 3 years. He's paid £1 million in tax. Working people are facing the highest tax burden for 70 years, and Rishi Sunak seems to be paying a much lower tax rate than he would, the general public would pay on that. So I think, there are questions about the choices that the Conservatives.
So would Labour, if Labour win the next election, as the polls predict you will next year, would Labour impose capital gains tax at the same rate as income tax?
Well, that's not something that we're talking about at the moment, but we'll need to see where we are as we approach the next election. But what we have said is that we'll make fairer tax choices. For example, ending non-dom status, ending tax loopholes for private schools and private equity. And that's what a Labour government would do, have a fairer tax system.
Ellie Reeves, really appreciate you joining us, Labour MP, Shadow Justice Minister.